Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, Coin Lovers and History Explorers. Today, we are diving into one of the most fascinating small treasures in American coinage, the United States of America Old Silver 1 dime from 1942. At first glance, this little silver coin might seem like just a small piece of pocket change, but trust me, it carries stories, secrets, and surprises that make it a true star in the world of coin collecting. Whether you are a seasoned collector or just curious about what old coins might be worth, you'll want to stick around until the very end of this video, because the value of this coin will absolutely shock you. Let's begin by stepping back into history. The year is 1942. The United States is fully involved in World War II. Soldiers are deployed overseas, fighting in Europe and the Pacific, while back home, Americans are working in factories, rationing goods, and doing everything they can to support the war effort. In this turbulent time, the U.S. Mint was busy producing coins for everyday use, including the silver dime, a small but essential piece of daily life. This 1942 dime is part of what's known as the Mercury dime series, even though it doesn't actually show the Roman god Mercury. The design features liberty, wearing a winged cap that symbolizes freedom of thought. This beautiful design, created by the talented sculptor Adolph A. Weinman, became one of the most beloved and recognizable images on American coins. On the reverse side of the dime, you'll find a Roman fasces, a bundle of rods tied around an axe, symbolizing strength and unity. Alongside it is an olive branch, representing the country's dedication to peace. Together, these symbols perfectly captured the spirit of the United States at that time, a nation determined to stay strong, defend its values, and hope for peace, even in the middle of a global conflict. Now, let's talk about why this old silver dime is such a treasure today. First, the 1942 dime was made of 90% silver, which already gives it intrinsic value. But what really excites collectors is not just the metal, it's the history, rarity, and special features that certain 1942 dimes carry. While millions were minted, most were heavily circulated, worn down, or even melted over time. But finding one today in excellent condition, especially one with a high-quality strike and sharp details, is like uncovering a gem among pebbles. And here's where things get even more interesting. Among the 1942 dimes, there are certain rare varieties that collectors are desperate to get their hands on. One of the most famous is the 1942/41 dime. This rare minting error happened when the die used to stamp the coin still had part of the previous year's date, creating a visible overlap where you can see traces of the 1 under the 2. These overdate coins are incredibly scarce and highly prized because they were the result of a human mistake, a slip-up at the mint that turned an ordinary coin into a rare collectible. But beyond just the overdate error, collectors also look for dimes with what's called full bands on the fasces on the reverse. This means the fine lines on the bands are fully visible, indicating a perfectly sharp strike. Such details might sound small, but they can make a huge difference in the coin's value. So, what determines the worth of a 1942 silver dime today? Condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale, with top-quality coins labeled as a mint state, meaning they show no signs of wear and look just as they did the day they were made. Add in the presence of a rare error, like the overdate, or high-level details like full bands, and you have a coin that can leap in value. But why are collectors willing to pay so much for a small coin like this? It's because rare coins are more than just metal, they're history in your hands. Each one tells a story, links us to the past, and becomes a part of a larger narrative about the country, its people, and its journey. Holding a 1942 dime is like holding a tiny time capsule, a connection to the struggles, hopes, and achievements of the wartime generation. Now comes the moment you've been waiting for. Just how much can one of these rare 1942 silver dimes be worth? If you are lucky enough to own a top-grade example, say, a 1942/41 dime in pristine mint condition, with all the finest details intact, collectors have been known to pay up to $179,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that originally carried a value of just 10 cents could now be worth nearly $200,000. That's the incredible power of rarity, condition, and collector demand. So, if you or your family have old coin collections tucked away in drawers, jars, or boxes, it's time to take a closer look. Who knows? You might be holding a little silver dime that's actually worth a small fortune. Today, we are taking you on an exciting journey into the world of one of America's small but mighty treasures, the United States of America old silver 1 dime from 1945. At first glance, you might think this tiny coin is just a simple 10-cent piece, but trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see why collectors are going crazy over it. There's history, art, rarity, and even a jaw-dropping value attached to some of these coins, so stick with me until the end. You won't want to miss just how much this little silver dime could be worth today. Let's begin by setting the stage. The year was 1945, a monumental year not only for the United States but for the entire world. World War II was coming to an end. Across the country, Americans were celebrating victory after years of sacrifice, rationing, and war effort. Soldiers were coming home, families were being reunited, and the nation was stepping into a new era of hope and rebuilding. During this incredible moment in history, the U.S. Mint was producing coins for daily commerce, including the beloved silver dime. The 1945 silver dime belongs to what collectors know as the Mercury dime series, though, interestingly, the figure on the front is not Mercury, the Roman god, but Lady Liberty. She's shown wearing a winged cap, a symbol of liberty of thought, designed by the famous sculptor Adolf A. Weinman. It's one of the most beautiful and artistic designs ever to appear on American coinage. On the reverse side, you'll find the fasces, a bundle of rods with an axe, symbolizing strength and unity, alongside an olive branch, representing the nation's desire for peace. These symbols couldn't have been more fitting for a coin struck at the very end of a brutal global conflict. But what makes this coin so exciting for collectors today? First, we have to talk about its metal content. Unlike modern dimes, the 1945 dime was made of 90% silver, giving it real intrinsic value beyond just its face value. But silver is just the starting point. What collectors truly prize is a combination of rarity, condition, and historical importance. Even though millions of 1945 dimes were minted, most were heavily circulated and show significant wear. Finding one in near-perfect, uncirculated condition, especially one with crisp details and no scratches or marks, is a rare and exciting discovery. Collectors use a grading scale to assess coins, and the highest grades, called mint state or MS, can dramatically increase a coin's market value, but that's not all. The 1945 Mercury dime has some unique features that can send its value skyrocketing. One of the most sought-after details is known as full bands on the reverse. This refers to the horizontal bands that wrap around the fasces. When these bands are fully struck and show clear, unbroken lines, it indicates an exceptional quality coin. Full bands dimes are much rarer because most coins, even from the time of minting, did not carry this level of sharpness and detail. Collectors also look for mint mark variations. The 1945 dime was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Sometimes small minting mistakes, such as double strikes, off-center images, or repunched mint marks, can make certain coins even more unique and desirable. These error coins are prized because they are one-of-a-kind pieces, accidental masterpieces that slip through the careful production process. So, how do these factors add up to determine the value of a 1945 silver dime today? If you have a coin in circulated condition, it might be worth only its silver content, a few dollars at best. But if you have a coin that's in exceptional condition, with full bands, possibly an error or rare mint variation, you are talking about a totally different level of worth. These coins become hot items at auctions, drawing the attention of passionate collectors who are willing to pay astonishing prices to add a rare, top-grade piece to their collections. And now, here's the moment you've been waiting for, the incredible value reveal. If you are fortunate enough to own a 1945 United States old silver 1 dime in pristine, mint condition, possibly with full bands or a rare minting error, collectors have been known to pay as much as $173,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, a 10-cent coin that could be worth over $170,000 today. It's an amazing reminder that history is all around us, sometimes hidden in the smallest objects. That old coin in your drawer, the one you thought was just an ordinary piece of pocket change, could actually be a rare and valuable treasure. Today, we're diving deep into a truly remarkable piece of American coinage, the old silver 1 dime from 1937. At first glance, it may look like a small, ordinary coin, but let me tell you, this little silver dime holds a fascinating story, rich with history, artistry, and, yes, incredible value that you won't believe. Stay with me right to the end, because we're going to reveal just how much this dime can be worth today, and trust me, it's a number that will leave you speechless. Let's set the scene for 1937. The United States was still emerging from the grip of the Great Depression. The stock market crash of 1929 had left deep scars on the economy, and although recovery was underway by 1937, the nation faced ongoing challenges. Unemployment was still high, and Americans were doing everything they could to stretch every penny. During this era, coins were not just small bits of metal, they were essential tools of survival, representing hard-earned wages and the hope of a better tomorrow. Enter the Mercury dime, the coin minted between 1916 and 1945, including the 1937 edition we're focusing on today, designed by the brilliant sculptor Adolph A. Weinman. The Mercury dime is often regarded as one of the most beautiful coins ever produced by the United States Mint. On the front, you'll find Lady Liberty wearing a winged cap, symbolizing freedom of thought. She was so often mistaken for the Roman god Mercury that the coin earned the nickname Mercury dime. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the fasces, a bundle of rods with an axe, representing unity and strength, paired with an olive branch, symbolizing peace. This combination of imagery was especially meaningful in the 1930s, when America was still recovering from economic hardship and watching political tensions rise around the world. But why is the 1937 silver dime so special today? First, its composition, 90% silver. Back then, coins were minted with real precious metal, unlike today's copper-nickel blends. This silver content alone gives the coin intrinsic value. But the real magic for collectors comes from condition, rarity, and specific details. You see, even though millions of dimes were minted in 1937, very few have survived in excellent, uncirculated condition. Most were heavily used in everyday transactions, wearing down the delicate details of the design. Finding a 1937 dime today that still shows crisp lines, sharp features, and little to no wear is like discovering a time capsule from the past. Collectors also hunt for something called full bands on the reverse side. These are the horizontal bands wrapping around the fasces. If those bands are fully defined and show no break in the center, the coin is considered particularly well struck and much more valuable. Coins with full bands are prized because they demonstrate the highest level of minting precision, and they stand out dramatically among regular circulated dimes. Another fascinating aspect comes from mint marks. In 1937, dimes were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Depending on where your coin was minted, its rarity can vary. And then, of course, there are the rare error coins, pieces that slipped through the mint's quality control with mistakes like double strikes, off-center images, or repunched mint marks. These errors make the coin one of a kind and can send its value soaring. Now, let's talk about grading. Coins are carefully graded on a scale, and the highest grades, called mint state, MS, indicate a coin that looks nearly flawless, just as it did when it left the mint. Coins at this level are rare and command top dollar at auctions. Even the difference between a grade of MS 64 and MS 66 can mean thousands of dollars in value. So, how much is the 1937 old silver 1 dime really worth today? If you're holding a common, circulated example, it might only be worth its silver weight, maybe a few dollars. But if you are lucky enough to have a 1937 dime in outstanding condition, especially with full bands or a rare minting error, the value can rise astronomically. And here's the moment you've been waiting for. A pristine, mint condition 1937 United States old silver 1 dime has been known to fetch as much as $193,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 10-cent coin that could be worth over $190,000. It's truly amazing to think that something so small, something that once passed from hand to hand buying gum or paying bus fare, could today be worth a fortune. This is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. It's not just about metal and numbers, it's about history, art, human stories, and the thrill of the hunt. Today, I am taking you on an incredible journey back in time, to one of the rarest, most legendary coins in the entire history of the United States. We're talking about the old Barber 1 dime from the year 1894. But this isn't just any old silver dime. Oh no, this coin has a story so fascinating, so mysterious, and so valuable that by the end of this video, you'll be absolutely amazed. So, get comfortable and stay tuned, because today we are unwrapping the secrets of a coin that could change your life. Let's step back into the late 19th century, the year 1894. The world was changing fast. Electric lights were starting to illuminate cities, the first motion pictures were thrilling audiences, and the automobile was beginning to roll onto American streets. In the middle of all this progress, the United States Mint was producing the silver dimes of the era, the famous Barber dimes, designed by Charles E. Barber, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. The Barber dime carries a dignified, classic look. On the front, or obverse, you'll find the image of Lady Liberty wearing a Phrygian cap, adorned with a laurel wreath, a symbol of victory and honor. The words, United States of America, surround her profile, and the date, 1894, sits proudly at the bottom. Flip the coin over, and the reverse displays a simple yet elegant wreath encircling the words, 1 dime. Clean lines, balanced design, and beautiful silver shine, the Barber dime is a true example of timeless American craftsmanship. But why is the 1894 Barber 1 dime so legendary? Here's where things get really interesting. In 1894, something strange happened at the San Francisco Mint. Only 24 Barber dimes were ever struck that year, just 24. Why so few? To this day, no one is completely sure. Some believe they were minted as special gifts for bankers, others think they were made to balance a bookkeeping discrepancy at the mint. Whatever the reason, these 24 coins immediately became some of the rarest U.S. coins ever produced. Over the years, many of these dimes disappeared, were lost, or were melted down, leaving only a tiny handful known to survive today. Some stories even tell of a young banker's daughter who was given a few of these rare dimes as a gift, and then, like any child would, she spent them on ice cream. Imagine buying a scoop of ice cream with a coin that today is worth a fortune. Collectors around the world have been obsessed with tracking down the surviving 1894 Barber dimes. Each time one appears at auction, it sends shockwaves through the numismatic world. These coins are legendary not just for their rarity, but for the stories, myths, and mysteries that surround them. Let's talk about why these coins are so valuable. First, rarity. With only 24 minted and fewer than a dozen known to still exist, the 1894 Barber dime is one of the ultimate prize pieces for collectors. Its rarity places it in a class all its own. Second, condition. Coins that have been well preserved, showing little to no wear, are valued exponentially higher. And third, provenance. The history of the coin's ownership can increase its value, especially when it has passed through the hands of famous collectors or has been part of renowned collections. When an 1894 Barber dime comes up for sale, collectors are ready to battle with their wallets. The excitement in the auction room, the fierce competition, and the headlines that follow, they all add to the legend of this tiny, silver masterpiece. Now, here's the part you've been waiting for, the jaw-dropping value point. One of these rare 1894 Barber 1 dime coins has been sold for as much as $1.6 million. Yes, you heard that right. One small silver dime, barely bigger than the tip of your finger, has fetched over $1,600,000 at auction. That's the kind of value that turns heads, captures imaginations, and proves that in the world of coins, small can truly be mighty. So, what should you take away from this story? Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who just enjoys history, the tale of the 1894 Barber dime is a reminder that treasures still exist in the most unexpected places. It's why people search through old coin jars, visit estate sales, and carefully examine their inherited collections, because you never know when a legendary piece might fall into your hands. Today, we are diving deep into the world of American coins to uncover the secrets and value behind one of the most familiar, yet surprisingly fascinating, coins in U.S. history, the Roosevelt 1 dime from 1967. At first glance, you might think, it's just a small silver-colored dime I've seen thousands of times. But let me tell you, there's so much more beneath the surface. This humble coin carries a story of history, patriotism, design, and, for a lucky few, the possibility of a small fortune. So buckle up, stay with me until the end, and you might just be surprised at how valuable this little coin can be. Let's begin by setting the stage. The year is 1967. America is in the middle of a turbulent decade. Civil rights movements, the Vietnam War, the space race, and the Cultural Revolution are all shaping the country. In your pocket, you might find a Roosevelt dime, a coin that has been part of everyday American life since 1946. Why Roosevelt? Well, this dime was created to honor Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. After his death in 1945, the U.S. Mint quickly moved to place his profile on the dime, not only because of his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II but also because of his association with the March of Dimes, a campaign to fight polio, the disease he had battled himself. The design of the Roosevelt dime is elegant and symbolic. On the front, the obverse, you'll find the portrait of President Roosevelt, facing left. The inscriptions include "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date, in this case, 1967. On the back, the reverse, the design features a torch, representing liberty, flanked by an olive branch, symbolizing peace, and an oak branch, standing for strength and independence. Together, these elements remind us of the core American values, but here's where things get interesting. In 1967, Roosevelt dimes were made not of silver, but of a copper-nickel clad, a change that happened after 1964 when the U.S. stopped using silver in most circulating coins due to rising silver prices. That means a 1967 dime doesn't have intrinsic silver value. But don't let that fool you, some 1967 dimes are still incredibly valuable. Why? The value lies in a combination of factors: rarity, condition, minting errors, and collector demand. First, let's talk about condition. Coins are graded on a scale called the Sheldon scale, ranging from 1, poor, to 70, perfect mint state. A 1967 Roosevelt dime in circulated, everyday condition might only be worth its face value, 10 cents. But a 1967 dime in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one graded MS-67 or higher, can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Then, there are the minting errors. These are mistakes made during the coin's production, and they can turn an ordinary dime into a rare collector's item. Some of the known valuable 1,967 dimes include examples with off-center strikes, double dies, where the design appears doubled, or missing clad layers that reveal the copper core underneath. Such error coins are highly sought after by collectors and can dramatically increase a coin's worth. Finally, the market itself plays a role. As time passes, certain coins become more desirable simply because they're harder to find in excellent condition. Demand from collectors keeps pushing prices higher, especially for coins with the perfect combination of rarity, condition, and historical significance. So, you might be wondering, how high can the price go for one of these little dimes? Well, here's the jaw-dropping fact. A rare and exceptionally high-grade Roosevelt 1 dime from 1967 has sold for as much as $66,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $66,000 for a coin you could have once pulled from your pocket change. This is why coin collecting is so exciting. You never know when an ordinary-looking piece might turn out to be an extraordinary treasure. So, the next time you're sorting through your old coins or pocket change, take a closer look. You might just be holding a small piece of American history worth far more than 10 cents. Thank you for joining me on this fascinating journey into the world of the 1967 Roosevelt dime. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss more amazing stories about rare and valuable coins. Until next time, happy hunting, and remember, sometimes the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise.